Hi, welcome to Ammosmith.com, and today we're going to start the 50 caliber tutorial. The equipment I'm using is from RCBS. It's called the 50 BMG Pack, and it comes with a press, the Ammo Master press. It includes a shell holder, the priming system, and back here there's two boxes with 3 dies in it. I want to go over each piece of equipment and explain it to you in detail so you know what you're dealing with. Let's get started. Let's talk about the other equipment that comes in the box. Of course, I introduced you to the press. It's not unlike any other press except for that the shell holder is threaded, and so is the priming system. And we're going to get into this a little later. I want to really introduce you to the dies. These dies are pretty much the same as any other die set, except for they're a lot bigger. I've already introduced you to the trim die, which full length resizes the case, except for it allows any excess case to protrude and you just file it off. This is a nice little handy die, and this eliminates the need for you to buy a special trimming or special trimmer for the 50, and those are really expensive. Not that this is cheap anyway, but it eliminates one piece of equipment. And it also comes with a full length sizing and decapping die. This is a monster, and there are several ways of using this, and what I want to do is explain to you not only the quirks of this thing, but some things you're going to want to do as soon as you get this thing out of the box. One of the biggest things that I had to deal with is the expander ball. It came out kind of rough out of the box, so I used a little bit of emery paper on it, and it's still kind of rough, so we want to use like 600 grit, just polish it a little bit, and go to 1000, then 1500, and then either 3200 or the finest you can get. And then once it's mirror shiny, which this still isn't yet, is you want to put a little bit of lubricant on it, because these case walls are thick. I mean, really thick. So when this thing gets pulled back through, you want to make sure it's lubricated so it doesn't gall. This is coming through here, because I'll tell you, I've had a time with this thing a few times trying to get a case out. It's not fun when it's stuck. So that's this guy, and this unscrews here. It may take you to get a wrench in order to remove the decapping pin if you need to replace it. The one thing this thing did not come with is extra decapping pins, and that was kind of a disappointment. Now, one of the things that you want to do is to adjust the die in order to make sure you're not going down too far to bend the entire decapping system, but far enough to where it'll fully decap a case. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. And the last die they give you is a seating die. It's just like any other seating die, except for it's bigger. And this thing here probably weighs about 3 pounds. You know, you don't want to drop this on your foot. But it's really well made. I'm impressed. For something of this size, this thing is very precision made. So let's get into how we set this up, and then we'll get started on sizing a few cases. Okay, this comes with a standard, the Ammo Master press comes with a standard collar for using regular dies, which is also the same thread as the shell holder. Now I'm just spinning this in here so you can see it a little better. Okay, let's zoom in on this. And the first thing you want to do is adjust your decapping pin. You just want the decapping pin just to fall just slightly below the hole here in the center of your shell holder in order to eject the primer. And these primers are good size. If you measure them, they're actually 30 caliber in diameter. These things are big, and you don't want them to get stuck because you're not going to get the case out. So as we can see right here, the expander ball is down too far. So we're going to just keep moving this up until we know that it's below. If it's going over like this, if you can take the die like this and slide it off the shell holder, it is seated in too deep. So you just go down until it barely touches the edge, then give it one full turn, and that should do you fine. That should completely eject the primer. And the reason why is because the primer is concave on the inside, as you can see. So this thing's going to have to push this primer out probably a quarter of the length from the inside of the primer. That's why you want to make sure that this protrudes a little bit below this ejection hole here. And once you do that, you take this lock nut and start it on here, and use your finger to keep the decapping system from going out of adjustment as you turn it. All you need is hand tight because it's not going anywhere. And that's that die adjusted. Okay, now we need to go ahead and set up the shell holder. This little guy right here catches the spent primer so you can throw them away, because when they eject out they can pop out, roll on the floor. So I'm going to insert this from this side so you see what I'm doing. There's an indexing nut on here that we can use, and we're going to use. And just go ahead and get this die or the shell holder started in there pretty good. You don't have to use all the threads, but you want to use enough of the threads so that when you're setting this thing up, you don't end up ripping this thing out off of one thread on the downstroke on this thing. The ram on this thing is huge, and there's a lot of pressure exerted on this whole system. And this press, I do believe, is strong enough to swage bullets, which is another nice thing about this. It's a multi-use system. So now that we have this like that, we like that 7 o'clock angle on our shell holder, so it makes it easy to insert and extract the case. What you want to do is get a wrench and go ahead and set this. Go ahead and give it a little torque on there so it doesn't want to back out on you. Because what that'll do is it'll change where the die face meets with the top of the shell holder, and that'll change your headspace, which means you're going to have a variance in how your cases are sized, which will directly translate into accuracy problems downrange. Don't forget, this is a long-range rifle, and we're talking about shooting something up to 2 miles away. So precision is everything here.